told me to go and I'll find you. Go.
All right. Today we're going to be talking about the claim the fact, I guess, of lowering the current drinking age in America would have great benefits. All right. So, since 2015, there have been 10,265 reported deaths due to alcohol-impaired crashes. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because I want you to keep in mind that, you know, when you think about it, what we've done is kind of put a taboo on drinking. So by the time the average person gets to a point of where they can drink, they go crazy and drink way too much, which results in things like 10,265 reported deaths. So I say if you're lowering the drinking age to 18 and introducing it early, and we don't have to introduce like hard liquor, we can introduce it like we could introduce it with beer and wine and things like that, so they, you know, take away the taboo. That way that, you know, you start off with something light, by the time you're 21, you're good to go. Now, one of the major points that I like to point out is the fact that you are allowed to fight in a war, carry all kinds of weapons, and have the responsibility of fighting for your country at 18. You can't have a drink. I mean, that's all fair. You can go over there and fight in the war. You can go fight in the war, be 18, come back and be 19, and you still can't have a drink in your country. But yet you're overseas, you can have a drink, just so you guys know. If you guys don't know, you can have a drink overseas. Let me point out some of the other countries that, that I had made reference to. Argentina, the Bahamas, Greece, the Philippines. All those people have changed their drinking ages. I believe that, I was looking at something, I think it was in Norway. They start drinking wine like 12, 13. They drink with their parents. But it just takes away the taboo. It's just like anything else. If I keep telling you, no, don't do something, then, you know, by the time you do it, you overindulge. So what we would like to do is just take away the mystique and treat you as an adult. You're an adult, you can vote at 18, right? You can fight, you can pay taxes, you're doing all these things, but yet you're still being controlled by something that actually was introduced by England and where did I have it on there? No. Well, anyway, the 21st Amendment is what the drinking age is based on. So in 1933, that's when they, came up with the official drinking age of 21. And but that's based on an English law. Like in England, they had that 21-year-old. I don't know why they did that, but that's what they did. And we're America, and we're not really rocking with England like that anymore. So I don't see why we should be following the law that they made a long time ago. What else we got in there? During the Vietnam War in 1970 through 1975, the drinking age was lowered to 18 to 20, and I think that was because it was probably a stressful time, and when it's stressful times, people need an outlet, and having a drink sometimes can calm me down, and I know it calms me down. So my proposal is that they change the drinking age to 18. But we can do, like I was saying before, we can do beer and wine, introduce it that way. We can go ahead and tax it heavily and go ahead and apply that money towards programs for Alcoholics Anonymous or making new roads or whatever the case may be. But that way, at least we're giving back and people can see, exactly what the benefits could be to an 18-year-old being able to have a beer or wine. I mean, these are just my perspectives, but I feel like it's one of those things where, people just kind of leave it as it is because they don't really want to have the argument about it because they feel like, I know, 18-year-olds are dumb. I'm not going to say I was stupid when I was 18, so I understand that, introducing something like alcohol in that case may be something detrimental to, whatever your current situation is, you're in school. The fact of the matter is, you guys are probably drinking right now, even if you're 18. Who's in here, 18? Exactly. So, all right, so in conclusion, Is the drinking age of 21 still significant today as it was in 1933? If you are old enough to give your life for your country, you're old enough to have a beer. The average age of military recruit is just under 21. The average active duty soldier is 18 to 21 years of age. In the Army, an 18-year-old individuals make up 48% of all the new recruits. Most DUI crashes are perpetuated by 21 to 24-year-olds who overindulge because they are not used to drinking. Like I said, the 10,265 reported deaths due to alcohol-impaired crashes in 2015 is expected to increase within the next several years. Let us take the taboo away from drinking, introducing drinking early, even if it's just beer and wine being on the top of the scale of drinking-related matters that affect over excessive drinking, such as alcohol poisoning and drunk driving, will continue to rise if future actions are not taken. So, you're old enough to fight for your country, and we should give them the same respect and allow them to have a drink.
Yeah. I like it. All right, do it again. He's like, no.
We get it.
I don't want to keep looking at the car, but you can go faster. You can't help it.
No, but something like that.
Well, you got something to do, right? I don't know, you really want to.
All right, let's start with a couple of good things. First of all, the proposition is clearly identified at the beginning, so I thought you did a reasonable job on that. You are effective at speaking to an audience. You're relaxed, you're comfortable, you're engaged with us, you look like you are interested in talking about the subject that you're talking about, so that adds a lot of credibility, it adds to your ethos. But there are a few things that are going to detract from your ethos too, and they mostly have to do with the research in the speech and organizational issues. There's not a setup of what the structure is going to be, so there's no preview. You start in almost immediately switching from the claim that there would be a benefit to an argument that suggests that there's something wrong, and that's a value claim, the way you present it, about not allowing 18-year-olds to drink when they can serve in the military, for instance, and you make that comparison. And that's a reasonable value argument to make, but like we talked about, you can't use a value claim to support a claim of fact. Now, if you could show that there was a harm that occurs because we don't allow 18-year-olds to drink, especially 18-year-olds in the military, that would be better. You know, for example, if they are more insubordinate, or they overdo it when they are overseas where they can legally drink, or they develop bad habits because they haven't been trained or something like that, you could maybe make that an argument that would be a little bit more relevant. But as it is, it really feels like it's tangential to the point that you're trying to make. You have a claim in your argument that you treat as a presupposition without any proof of it, and that is that it is the so-called, you don't use the term, forbidden fruit scenario. In other words, because it's something that is denied to people, that they want it more, they go overboard on it, they mass consume it when they get the chance, that sort of thing. And there's no evidence to support that at all. You just basically make that claim, and I think that's a problem, because that's the crux of the claim of fact part that you have in your speech, because you are making a claim of fact that says having this lower drinking age is causing this problem, but you've got no evidence to suggest that it actually causes that problem. So that's, I think, the thing that's missing there. All right, now, you get sidetracked on other pieces of information about the subject that aren't relevant to the claim that you're making. So you're talking about what the rules are in England. By the way, I don't know where that information came from. There's no source citation on it. The 21st Amendment is about, at best, if I've got it right, the repeal of prohibition, not the legalization of alcohol for 21-year-olds. you've got this argument about the history, that involves the history of what the drinking age is, and you don't have the data correct on this. So I don't. If you heard about it from somebody secondhand, that's a problem. If you got research on it, you better double check the research because it doesn't sound like it's very accurate, and you're not citing it anyway. So you need to do that kind of citation. The lowering the drinking age, for instance, in the 1970s, you make it sound like, hey, we're in a war, so we lowered the drinking age so we could all relax. Well, we've been in wars all the time. It seems like we're constant. Why aren't we relaxing now? I think that this is another place where there's an historical context that applies to something that you're talking about because it's part of the evolution of what the drinking age is that you haven't read about. All right, and you need to read about it. I don't mean to give you a history lesson here, but having been through all of that, I remember exactly what happened. A lot of states lowered the drinking age in response to the constitutional amendment that lowered the voting age. So before 1970, when you were 18, 19, or 20 years old, you could not vote. We had a constitutional amendment that lowered the voting age to 18, and that's when a lot of states did exactly what you were talking about. They said, hey, we've lowered the vote, people can fight, they can die, they can vote for president, they ought to be allowed to drink, so we should change that. And a whole bunch of states did. All right, not because the Vietnam War was so stressful, but because they thought that would be consistent, which is the very argument that you're making earlier. And that's when problems started. So you need to confront those problems. You try to link the 10,000 plus deaths of alcohol driving deaths to the inability of people to have access to alcohol when they're 18. And I don't see any proof on that. The closest you come is an argument that says most drunk driving accidents occur at the age of 21. And I'm going, okay, this is a piece of information that would probably be really useful, but you don't have any source citation on it. And there's not, it's not even a statistic, it's just basically a comment. And I'm going, well, and where's the proof on that? Because I think that would help your argument. So the argument that you need to make is that lowering the drinking age would eliminate the forbidden fruit issue because then people wouldn't over imbibe when they get the legal opportunity to do it. That the drinking age is not preventing drunk driving accidents, which is what people think it was doing, and that's not working very well. And there may be another benefit from lowering the drinking age that you mentioned taxation or stuff like that. Maybe there's some other benefit that you could quantify as a third point. You don't have to have 3, you could have 2, that would be fine. But I would say you need to stay away from that other argument, which is the value-based one. Okay, thank you.